we discovered this cavernous void within the cow's hoof that you're just about to see us trim. This is her before we treated her. She can barely bring herself to even touch the ground. So here is cow 4710, and as you can see, she is really struggling to even use that back right foot. I know that it's highly likely she has a fluid-filled cavity within this foot, but at this point in the trim, I cannot be certain. All I know is that this claw here on the outer side is larger than it should be, and that's most likely where the problem is going to be. This little dot is of real interest. I believe that black spot will be the key to fixing and making this cow pain-free. First off, I grab my grinder, I balance up both of the claws. This is the routine part of the trim, as a lot of you will now know. It's vital that we do this before we do anything else, because we need to make sure we can balance the two claws and that nothing untoward arises its ugly head before we treat the problem, because if something else does crop up, we may end up treating the main problem in an entirely different way. I model out the base of her sole before attacking and releasing the problem. And just like that, we find what is causing the problem. You guys already knew it was there, but the relief for me trimming in reality in real time is immense, because I know I can now attack the problem head on. But at this point in the trim, I've no idea of the absolutely colossal cavity that is hiding underneath all of that overburdening hoof horn. I now know for absolute certain what has been causing this cow all of that pain, so I grab the grinder and buff off her medial or inner claw on this back foot so that it can take a block and be glued in position to lift that sore affected claw high up off the ground. Basically, she'll be wearing a high heel on one foot, which raises the other foot up off the ground. I prod and press at her feet to try to understand the extent of her problems. Remember, you guys have had foresight, you know what is coming, but I need to try to understand and navigate my way around this foot. So using my grinder, I begin to reduce the overall size of this hoof, so that hopefully there is less knife work for me to do. That being said though, the knife work is where we make our money. It's where we make the precise cuts and the ones that really matter. I was expecting more fluid to empty from the cavity, which is why you can see me manipulating the foot here in an effort to see if it will. I know this cavity is big, but something makes me want to look inside, and when I do, I begin to realise the enormity of the hole that is hidden from view right now within this cow's foot. Understanding the layout of what I can't see right now underneath these layers is really helpful. It means I'm able to take bigger, thicker chunks of hoof horn away from the sole of her foot without the worry that I may cut into something that I really don't want to be touching. I use these circular motions with my knife because it gives me leverage through the hoof horn. My knife is razor sharp, but hoof horn is extremely tough. Chunk by chunk, slice by slice, I remove as much as I can. The inflammation of her foot is extensive, so me putting any pressure through it is causing her discomfort, which is why you've just seen her wriggling and trying to kick her way out of this. Fortunately for me though, the KVK keeps every cow exactly where it should be. We're really progressing through the trim now, but this wall horn is exceptionally tough and I need to reduce it as much as I possibly can, then move towards the inner part of her foot and even the heel. There is still a long way to go, and as you're about to see, this cavity isn't done being revealed. With trims like this, one false move and you'll make a mistake. Just like that. It's only a very small error, but I would much rather not have made an error at all. It'll be completely inconsequential in her overall progress as she begins the healing process, but like I've just said, it's still frustrating to make any errors whatsoever. We continue the trim and remove every shred of loose and detached hoof horn that we're able to before dousing the entire area of her sole. With this 10% iodine solution, the newly forming horn is very delicate indeed. It's soft and it can be easily penetrated by anything lying on the ground, so I want to dehydrate those outer layers of new hoof horn using that iodine and the salicylic acid under the wrap that Kev just applied. After that, I move on to the back left foot while Craig and Kev take care of the front feet, before we can finally let this cow out of the crush to see if we've made any difference at all to how she was walking just 5 or 6 minutes ago. The discomfort from the problem we found was obvious. This is her in her little holding pen before we trimmed her just 5 or 6 minutes ago, struggling to even touch the ground. I'm hoping and praying and got my fingers crossed that when she leaves this crush, the story will be slightly different. It's a tender first few steps, but she begins to use the block almost immediately, and once she's outside, the progress is very real to see. We've made a massive difference to the comfort of this little cow in just a few short minutes.